Good evening. Thank you guys for all being here. Can you smell that wonderful aroma? You smell that wonderful smell in the air? Well, that's the gravy I prepared for you guys after this speech. I don't know about you, but I really enjoy a good gravy to go with my biscuits in the morning. I happen to be the early bird in the family, so I wake up early on a Saturday or a Sunday, and I prepare breakfast for my family. And I go all out. I make eggs, bacon, waffles sometimes. But the one thing that my family really looks forward to is the biscuits and gravy that I make. And that's what I'm here to do for you guys. I'm here to show you guys or demonstrate to you guys how easy it is to make your own gravy. I'm not giving away any of my secrets, my secret recipe or anything like that, but just the fundamentals on how to make gravy. Obviously, the first thing you want to start off with when you sit there and make gravy is you want to make sure you have your supplies. And what you want to have is a medium pot. Now that medium pot's there to brown the meat that you have and also to cook the gravy in. The next thing you want to add is the colander and with a bowl. And that's so you can drain the excess grease off the meat. After that, you want to have about a half stick of butter. You want about a quart of heavy whipping cream and a little bit of flour. And, well, I'd say about half a cup. About a half cup of flour. And some salt and pepper and some spices to make it your own. The first thing you want to do is preheat the oven or preheat the stove to about medium heat and get that pot boiling. The first thing you want to do is you want to sit there and add that meat. And when you add that meat to the pot, you want to make sure that you ground it up. You want to grind it up so that you got small pieces of meat while you're cooking and browning the meat. Once the meat is done grounding, what you want to do is you want to sit there and take that meat and dump it into a colander. And what does that do is it allows the excess grease to come off and drain into the bowl. Once you get done putting the meat into the colander, you're going to place the pot back on the stove and you're going to throw in about a half a stick of butter. Now, once this butter melts down, you're going to melt it down. Now is the time where you start making your roux. Once the butters melt down, you're going to take about a teaspoon of flour and you're going to add it to that melted butter mixture in that pot. And you're going to stir it. And you're going to keep stirring it, you're going to keep stirring it. And you're going to keep repeating those steps. You're going to keep adding flour and you're going to keep doing that until you have your roux the consistency of peanut butter. Once you have your roux the consistency of peanut butter, now's the time that you're going to really start making the gravy. After you get done making that roux into a consistency of peanut butter, you're going to slowly add the quart of milk or the quart of heavy whipping cream. And you're going to mix that in there. And you're going to keep mixing that in there, mixing it in there. And then once that whole quart is gone and everything's mixed up and everything's good to go, that's when you're good to go. You're going to sit there and take that meat and you're going to sit there and take it out of the colander and you're going to dump it into that sauce that you just made. And you're going to mix it around. And you're going to mix it around until all the meat is evenly distributed throughout the mixture. Now for me, I think it's a little bit different for everybody else, but for me I figured out that there's a certain type of thickness that you're looking for. And that thickness happens to be, I figured out a way to answer that question is by sticking a spoon straight up and down and you stick it into the mixture. Now if it all comes running off, then it's too thin. All the meat and everything comes running off, it's too thin. If you stick it down inside the mixture and you pull it up and you got big chunks of meat sticking on there, I feel that that's a little bit too thick. What you really want is when you stick that thing down inside there and pull it up, what you really want is you want to have a consistency where you have the small pieces of meat stuck to the spoon. Now that to me is the best thickness. Now if it's obviously too thick, you're going to add a little bit of water or anything like that to thin it down. If it's too thin, you're going to want to add a little bit of water or a little bit of flour in order to thicken it back up. But you got to be careful with that flour mixture because you don't want to go too much because then it can get really too thick. So a little bit at a time, Now comes the time where you start spicing it up. You start adding the salt, the pepper, and you start adding spices. And you're going to keep adding those salt, pepper, and spices and whatever you want to add to where you have the flavor that you feel is the best. Once you get done doing that, Once you get that feeling like that is the best mixture and that's the best flavor, you're going to let it sit for about 10 minutes. Let it sit about 10 minutes, reduce the heat down to low, and you're going to stir it occasionally. And after about those 10 minutes, you're going to come back and you're going to get a little taste. You want to taste it. And if it tastes good to go, then you're good to go. If it's not, that's when you need to start adding a little bit more salt, pepper, or whatever type of spice you guys are having. And that's it. That's all it takes in order to make gravy for your biscuits. Now, obviously, in the process, you're going to want to put the biscuits in and start cooking them in between time. But ultimately, when it comes to the gravy, that is where it needs to be. And like I said, I've gone through pre-made, what do they call that? Pre-made gravy mixes, to country gravy mixes, to everything like that. And I tell you what, it took me a while, but I guarantee that you guys, if you guys just follow these simple instructions, you guys can make this your own. And that's all it takes. I'm telling you, that's all it takes. I went through a lot of stuff, but I'm telling you, before long, you end up having your best biscuits and gravy. Trial and error, and you'll have it, and your family will love it. Thank you guys. You guys have a wonderful day, and let's dig in.